The garret was cold. Dust swirled in the pale light.
Adrian, a young artist, shivered. His stomach growled, a constant companion. Empty canvases lined the walls, mocking his lack of success. He longed for recognition, for a warm meal.
Adrian picked up his brush. The bristles frayed. His paints, dull and lifeless. Despair threatened to consume him. He yearned for a miracle. He yearned for inspiration. He yearned for a way out.
One chilly evening, while scavenging for supplies, Adrian stumbled upon a hidden alcove in the market. An old woman, eyes twinkling with an unsettling light, sat amid strange vials and powders. He was drawn to her stall, a sense of foreboding gripping him.
Looking for something special, young man?
The woman rasped, her voice like dry leaves. Adrian hesitated, then pointed to a jar filled with a shimmering crimson pigment. The color pulsed with an unnatural energy. The old woman smiled, a knowing, unsettling smile.
Ah, the heart of the dragon.
She whispered, her breath warm on Adrian's cheek. He felt a chill despite her words.
It will bring your art to life, but be warned, it demands a price.
Intrigued and desperate, Adrian ignored the warning. He bought the pigment, his fingers trembling as he exchanged his last few coins. As he walked away, he could feel the old woman's gaze burning into his back. The crimson pigment flowed onto the canvas with an unnatural smoothness. It seemed to pulsate with a life of its own. Adrian's brushstrokes felt guided, his subject appearing on the canvas with startling realism. It was as if he were breathing life into his art.
His first portrait was of a local merchant, a man known for his stern demeanor. But in Adrian's painting, the merchant seemed to almost smile, his eyes twinkling with an unfamiliar warmth. It was a masterpiece.
The portrait of the merchant caused quite a stir in the city. It wasn't just any portrait, it was a masterpiece that seemed to breathe life. The colors, the details, everything about it was mesmerizing. People were mesmerized by its lifelike quality. Adrian, once invisible, had poured his soul into this work. His talent, which had gone unnoticed for so long, was now undeniable, was suddenly thrust into the spotlight. Commissions poured in, and he was finally tasting the success he craved. The city buzzed with his name, and everyone wanted a piece of his magic, and he was finally tasting the success he craved. Awards and accolades followed, and Adrian found himself at the pinnacle of his career. His dreams were no longer just dreams, they were his reality.
I can't believe how much things have changed. Just a few months ago, I was struggling to make ends meet. Just look at all this gold. It's like a dream come true. But with success comes its own set of challenges.
Yet, whispers followed his success. People began to talk, and not all of it was praise. Rumors started to spread like wildfire. People claimed the subjects of Adrian's portraits were changing, their personalities mirroring the emotions captured on the canvas. It was as if the paintings had a life of their own. The once jovial baker became melancholic, the cheerful fishmonger withdrawn. It was uncanny and unsettling.
It's just nonsense. People always find something to talk about. They can't stand to see someone succeed without trying to bring them down. People always talk when they see someone succeed. But I know the truth. My art is pure, and my intentions are good. Let them whisper. It won't change who I am or what I've achieved. Adrian continued to work, undeterred by the rumors. He knew that true success came with its own set of challenges, and he was ready to face them head-on. With every stroke of his brush, he poured his heart into his work, determined to prove that his talent was genuine and his success well-deserved. The city watched, whispered, and waited. But Adrian knew that in the end, it was his art that would speak the loudest. And so, with each new portrait, he continued to capture the essence of his subjects, leaving an indelible mark on the world.
Adrian dismissed the rumors as envy. He believed that those who spread such tales were simply jealous of his success and talent. After all, he had worked tirelessly to reach the pinnacle of his career, and he wasn't about to let baseless gossip tarnish his achievements. He was at the height of his career, his talent celebrated. Critics and admirers alike praised his work, and his paintings were in high demand. Galleries vied for the chance to showcase his masterpieces, and his name was synonymous with artistic brilliance. He had finally escaped the clutches of poverty. The days of struggling to make ends meet were behind him, replaced by a life of comfort and recognition. He could now afford the finest materials, the best studios, and the freedom to create without financial worry. But a seed of doubt had been planted. It started as a small, almost imperceptible feeling, but it grew steadily, taking root in the corners of his mind. He couldn't pinpoint its origin, but it was there, gnawing at his confidence. He noticed subtle changes in himself, a growing coldness within. His once warm and passionate demeanor was slowly being replaced by a detached, almost mechanical approach to his work. It was as if a part of him was slipping away, replaced by something unfamiliar.
Why do I feel this way? He questioned himself, trying to understand the source of his unease. Was it the pressure of success? The fear of losing his creative spark? Or was it something deeper, something more sinister? It's like something is changing inside me. He could feel it, a shift in his very essence. It was as if an invisible force was reshaping his thoughts, his emotions, and even his art.
He tried to ignore the whispers, the strange occurrences around his subjects. Objects in his studio seemed to move on their own, and shadows danced in the corners of his vision. He dismissed them as tricks of the light, but deep down, he knew something was amiss. He immersed himself in his work, driven by a force he couldn't quite comprehend. His brush moved with a life of its own, guided by an unseen hand. The more he painted, the stronger the pull became, drawing him deeper into a world of color and form. The crimson pigment called to him, its allure growing stronger with each stroke. It was unlike any color he had ever used, vibrant and alive, almost pulsating with energy. He couldn't resist its pull, and soon, it became the centerpiece of his work.
This pigment. It's like it's alive. He stared at his reflection, seeing a hint of something sinister in his eyes. The crimson seemed to have a life of its own, whispering to him, urging him to create more, to push the boundaries of his art. I can't stop using it. He was consumed by the need to paint, to explore the depths of this mysterious pigment. It had become an obsession, a driving force that he couldn't escape, no matter how hard he tried. What is happening to my art? Narrator. One evening, while working on a portrait of a young nobleman, Adrian had a chilling realization. He had been painting for hours, lost in the delicate strokes and intricate details of the nobleman's visage. The room was dimly lit, with only the flickering light of a few candles casting eerie shadows on the walls. The nobleman in the painting smiled, but it was a cruel, predatory smile. It was as if the painted figure had a life of its own, mocking Adrian with its sinister expression, and his eyes, once filled with youthful exuberance, now burned with an icy fire. The transformation was so subtle, yet so profound that it sent shivers down Adrian's spine. He could hardly believe his eyes.
Panic surged through Adrian, his heart raced and his hands trembled. He had never experienced anything like this before. The room seemed to close in on him, the walls pressing in as if they were alive. He stepped back, knocking over a vial of the crimson pigment. The sound of the glass shattering echoed through the room, breaking the eerie silence. As it shattered on the floor, the crimson pigment spread like blood, staining the wooden planks. The air grew thick with tension. A wisp of red smoke escaped, swirling and coalescing into the shape of a grotesque dragon-like creature. The creature's eyes glowed with a malevolent light, and its form twisted and writhed as if it were alive.
No, this can't be real. Adrian's voice quivered with fear and disbelief. He could hardly comprehend what was happening before his eyes.
The truth was finally unveiling itself. The room seemed to pulse with a dark energy, and the air was thick with an otherworldly presence. And it was more terrifying than Adrian could have ever imagined. The painting, the pigment, the creature, it all pointed to a reality that defied logic and reason. Adrian knew that his life would never be the same again. The truth had been hidden in plain sight, and now that it was revealed, there was no turning back. Section 8, the Pact.
The creature spoke, its voice a raspy whisper that seemed to slither into my very core.
It revealed the truth. The pigment was not paint, but dragon's blood, imbued with the power to steal souls and bind them to the canvas. He had unwittingly made a pact with the creature, trading his soul, piece by piece, for fleeting fame and success. S1. I was horrified.
The creature laughed, a dry rattling sound that echoed the emptiness growing within me.
Section 9, a desperate attempt.
Desperate to break free from the creature's hold, I tried to destroy all traces of the crimson pigment.
But it was no use.
The pigment, now a part of me, pulsed in my veins.
He was trapped, a puppet dancing to the creature's insidious tune.
The creature reveled in my despair, its grip tightening with every portrait I completed.
It promised him ultimate power, the ability to control not just emotions but destinies.
But I yearned for freedom, for redemption.
Section 10, the final portrait.
Driven by a last flicker of hope, I decided to paint one final portrait, a self-portrait.
He poured all his remorse, his terror into every stroke.
I hoped that by capturing my true self, I could break the creature's hold.
As he finished the final stroke, he felt a searing pain shoot through him.
The creature roared in fury, its form flickering as if struggling to maintain its grip.
Adrian had put his soul into the painting, leaving him an empty vessel. Section 11, the price of fame.
The creature, denied its prize, let out an ear-splitting shriek and vanished.
The garret was silent save for the sound of Adrian's ragged breathing.
I looked at my self-portrait.
It was a masterpiece, capturing the torment of his soul.
And then I collapsed.
Adrian had achieved fame, but at a terrible cost. His art was his legacy, a chilling reminder of the price of ambition and the seductive allure of power. The garret, once filled with hope, now stood as a testament to the artist's dark secret,